Welcome back. Well, in celebration of 200 years of Lesotho's founding, the French Embassy, in collaboration with the French Alliance in Maseru and the Morija Museum and Archives, presents The Kingdom in the Sky, Moshoeshoe's strategy and legacy. The 8-minute documentary sheds light on the historical and cultural ties between Lesotho and France, tracing the leadership and diplomacy of King Moshoeshoe I. Now, here's a snippet of the documentary. Take a look.
His Majesty the King Naledi III was in the process of organizing the commemoration of the bicentennial anniversary of the Mountain Kingdom.
As we celebrate our bicentenary, it gives us an opportunity as a nation to pause and look back at our history.
King Naledi III said that he would like France to be part of the commemoration, given the very intimate history between King Moshoeshoe and 3 very young French Protestant missionaries who came to Lesotho land back in 1833. That was an incredible privilege and honor that he made to me, but also to the Republic of France. King Moshoeshoe had the intuition that these foreigners, Eugène Casalis and then Gosselin and Arbousset, could help him to build a strategy in order to protect the kingdom. We really thought that this story had to be told.
Yeah, an important story, absolutely. Well, let's speak now to David Martinon, who's France's ambassador to South Africa and Lesotho. And we're also joined by Mamokuena Makhemam, who's a curator of the Morija Museum and Archives. Thank you so much for joining us, and a good morning to the both of you. Such an interesting documentary, this at a particularly important time for Lesotho as it reflects on its history. And one of the things that I've been thinking about is whether or not people are really aware of the rich history that Lesotho has, particularly here in South Africa, when it is a close neighbor of ours. And perhaps, David, I'll start with you. Speak to us about, the impact that a story like this, really, about the history of Lesotho, particularly its relationship with France and those missionaries, how important it is in this day and age.
Well, to be honest, I didn't know myself that history. And it's actually His Majesty the King who let me know that there was something to dig in. And that's what we did when he asked me to bring a French contribution to the bicentennial. And so we worked with Mamokuena, and because we are supporting Morija Archives and Museum, and so we will keep on doing it. And we found out that, well, Mamokuena knew it, of course, but the story is fantastic. It's really about these 3 very young French missionaries who were around the Cape, and that whom King Moshoeshoe wanted to meet. And so he sent someone to fetch them, and then he decided to invite them and to host them in his very young kingdom. And the great thing is that these 3 missionaries, by the way, had absolutely no colonial intention. Their intention was to come and advocate against slavery in the Cape Colony. And eventually they remained in Lesotho, where they had sort of a political role, actually, because as advisors, and notably Eugène Casalis, who became sort of a diplomatic advisor to the king, and he helped him shape his strategy at a time when the kingdom was surrounded by hostile on the north, the west, and everywhere. And he was trying to find a strategy to guarantee the autonomy to this very young kingdom. And that's what notably Casalis brought to him.
Yeah, incredible, right? And really something that I think a lot of us didn't know. So interesting that you learned it yourself in the run-up to this project. But Mamokuena, let's bring you in here and then talk about, okay, so how then do we, not just only with the documentary, but also some of the work that's being done at this time, really to celebrate this period for Lesotho, but also its relationship with France. I believe a Franco-Basotho blanket is also being designed.
Yes. Thank you, Naledi. Thank you for having us. There has been a blanket that has been designed with the efforts of, and which is totally the work of Alliance Française de Maseru. And the designer, when he describes how he came about to design that blanket, what he looked at, it is incredible because it carries on, it continues to showcase the relationship between the two countries. But a whole lot of events and activities are taking place in the country now, talking about the celebration and the commemoration. And us as the Morija Museum and Archives, as you see my beautiful shirt, under our banner of our festival, we have been carrying on from the 30th. We started with a blanket exhibition, a very first blanket exhibition with the support of Aranda that has shared with us 60 blankets, and the support of people in the country, villagers that could be able to open their trunks, their suitcases, the wardrobes, and give us the oldest blankets that have history, that have a sentimental value. Some of them, they will tell you that my father bought this blanket when he came from the mines, or when he came from my grandfather when he came from the Second World War. And these are some of the events that we have conceptualized to trigger the nation to remember who they are, to trigger the nation to be interested to find out more, which will lead them to our museum and archives. So a film of this nature also triggers, I was talking to someone this morning, I was telling him that with this film, I want to see more people, which is also the sentiments of the ambassador. We want to see more people go out of their way to make even lengthier films that talk more about the history of Lesotho as we reach this turning point of our lives as a nation.
Yeah, you know, Lesotho, I think, is such an important country, particularly for us as South Africans. And I wonder just how many South Africans are not just interested in the history of Lesotho, but where Lesotho finds itself right now. And I know that, David, you yourself actually were able to travel to Lesotho and really to also be part of some of those celebrations. You presented the kingdom. This was to present the kingdom in the sky to King Letsiye, rather to be there for the screening, right? So really interesting. For anyone who has never been to Lesotho, David, I'm going to give this one to you. Describe the country. Right. I think the beauty of it is if you live in South Africa, you think that it's very much similar to South Africa, and it really isn't. It's almost an enchanting country, is it not?
Absolutely. I think what if I were to try and sum up the history and the identity of Lesotho is that it was really forged, created by King Moshoeshoe as a harbor for anyone who would try to escape the turmoil around the mountains. And so it's really the mountain in the sky, but it has to be understood as a harbor, a safe harbor for those who decided to leave their territory and reach out to the mountain just to be safe. And that's how he shaped not only the kingdom, but the nation. And what is striking is that in Lesotho, most people are on horses.
Yep.
And which gives a fantastic style to them. They have that spirit of independence that has been proven over the last 200 years.
Yeah, it really is just one of the most beautiful countries. And if you, just take a look at some of those images, breathtaking mountains. And then, of course, a country that really has held on to its identity for a really, really long time. And I think that really is at the heart of the spirit of Lesotho. Mamokuena, perhaps talk to us a little bit about the collaborations that Lesotho continues to really work on at the moment, particularly in the storytelling, and the role that South Africa needs to be playing as well as a neighbor that surrounds Lesotho.
Wow, Naledi, that is a good question, because you are asking the right person. As a filmmaker, what the embassy has done for us, it has given us an opportunity to prove, working alongside incredible filmmakers, to prove that we have what it takes to tell good stories, participating in that. But our greatest challenge as a country is resources. As you would know, in South Africa, you have the National Film and Video Foundation, which is hugely funded by government to make sure that the film industry survives. You have the rebate system with GTI. We do not have that as yet. We do not have that as yet. You have an incredible system with the broadcasters, and you are already even attracting the outside world. Like you now have Netflix in your shows. You have all those, but we haven't reached that stage. And I think the onus is upon South Africa to show what they can do in other countries. It saddens me that, for instance, you have the commercial broadcaster has already gone to Zambia, has gone to Kenya, but they haven't come to Lesotho. Why? We have stories to tell. And I feel that South Africa has to find a way to work with other African countries. I used to work at the PASI, Pan-African Federation of Filmmakers. And one of my jobs was to travel across the continent, setting up film bodies. And I feel that we have regressed in doing that. South Africa has regressed in doing that, in reaching out to other African countries. They have all these bilaterals with Italy, with Canada, with the US. Why do they not have bilaterals with us in Africa? Because they have the muscle to support us to make films. We cannot be looking to France to assist us. We cannot be looking to Germany. We should be looking to other African countries to tell stories together, because South Africa would understand how to tell our stories. They can come and support us, but South Africans are us. And if we work hand in glove, I think we can be able to tell our stories perfectly. So that's my challenge to South Africa. We need you guys to work with us to tell our stories, because boy, do we have stories to tell.
And our stories are so intertwined. Well, guys, thank you so much for speaking to us. All the best, and congratulations on this really important project. I'm hoping that people will come out and see the documentary as well. Where do we find it, David? I'll give you, perhaps Mamokuena, talk to us about where we get our hands on the documentary.
On X, Twitter, on Facebook, on social media, globally speaking. There is no rights attached to it, so everyone is free to see it, to watch it.
Wonderful. And it's called The Kingdom in the Sky. Absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for speaking to us. That there, David Martinon, who is the France High Commissioner to South Africa, Lesotho, as well as Malawi, and Mamokuena Makhemam, who is with the Morija Museum and Archives.